Hello and welcome back to another episode of our exercise toolkit. Again, I'm Spencer Pollock and look forward to joining you here for your journey on our exercise tools with some of the stuff around actual exercise tools. So, for example, this document here, all these blue ones here kind of go together. The blue ones here are a little bit of two things, partly planning and getting you kind of ready for your exercise, and then a few towards the back here that we'll talk about with day of stuff. So if you're new to emergency management or new to the exercise components of emergency management or have partners that will be on your planning team, this exercise one-on-one document kind of takes you guys through a bit of a customized, right? Your county information, your names and whatnot, discussion of exercises at a 30,000 foot level. Give some reasons on why we might exercise, some of the strategic steps on planning or conducting it, how to build a team. It also gives you some links here regarding different training, different YouTube links, again, that might be useful for your planning team. The idea of this document would be as a read ahead. You may send this out to your partners when you schedule your first planning meetings. Have them go through this a little bit or even facilitate this kind of conversation with them at your first planning meeting. Telling them a little bit about what HCEP is, the different kind of components, discussions and operations-based exercises, and let this serve as a guide to kind of set them up for success and catch them up to where we're going. Has some helpful tools in here about things like smart objective writing that allows you guys to kind of work through it, and then dives you into some little placeholders, right? That you can work on as a group as you're starting to build this out. Also then ties you in a little bit after the objectives into scenario writing. Again, the reminder being that we want to really figure out what plan we're testing, what gaps we want to close, and at the very end kind of back into a plausible narrative story. Too often we end up flipping those and we come up with a story that sounds cool but then misses some of the objectives we were after. So this document helps take you through that. As again, with some of the other documents we've seen throughout this series, these org charts come from the front, and so when you type in information up front in that data entry tab, these then will then fill themselves in, right, with names and phone numbers and whatnot. And so you can print these and give them to your planning team as a quick either day of reminder or lead up stuff of who's kind of where and who's on site. Based on kind of what you'll be looking at doing. The color coding applies in here, right? Gives you some ideas of some of those minimum ones you might want to staff, and if you've got some of these other pieces in there added, that's value added to the conversation, but not necessarily necessary. We've got a few other things here on timelines, right? So an exercise planning timeline that helps you kind of orient your crew, very Gantt chart-like. With different meetings that you have coming up, and then you can assign homework in here of start dates, end dates, owners, percentage complete, and review these at your planning meetings. You can print them off on the plotter size paper or just down to your local kind of regular printer to again just help keep stuff on time, on target, or send out PDFs as reminders before you come into planning meetings of what you need to be kind of working on. The exercise timeline itself is more day of stuff, and so as you look at this, as it populates up, what we're talking about here is really diving into what should be kind of happening, and this pulls from the module headers, right, the titles of them, and then those key couple items that are going to then get you through the narrative and work your way through. Might be something to again print out and provide to controllers, or perhaps if depending on the scenario, post up on the wall, and you can kind of track your way through to those closing comments. The budget planner takes a little bit more detail, deep dive from the rudimentary budget we've got on the data entry tab. And you can see, give some context here. This may be one that you print out and bring to stakeholders to have them help review, especially if you're looking for money for a particular exercise. So you can see it takes you through some of the brainstorming of what you might be including. Personnel, food, right? And as you put in your estimates and then you put in your actuals, it'll give you a cost breakdown, right? These graphs and charts sort of are running categories. And then again, gives you a little bit, are you actually budget versus actual and where are you? So might be something to consider using if you're trying to do a handy dandy snapshot either for the exercise planning or for kind of annual budget planning to figure out what you're looking at. Similar to ICS, we've got a couple things here that we've sort of robbed and brought over. As you're doing your planning stuff, you may put in stuff, the 215, the operational planning worksheet, where again you can list across the top what you might be needing, list down the side why you might be needing it, and then come through with the required have, and then math will do the deltas. And so let's say you have a bunch of transportation requests. Let's put in we need 5 of them. You actually only have 2 of them. Yep, we are good editing this for 5 minutes. Giving you a delta here, and the color coding sort of lines up. What you would end up working through is at the bottom a little bit of an ordering thing that you need 3 school buses, right? You can then do the math and work through horse trading and whatnot if you can or can't get them. Change up your strategies and your tactics, either across the side or across the top. Once you've sort of populated some of that, and it could be for the planning stuff or day of, you can use the corresponding 215 alpha, the safety analysis, to kind of now break down a little bit more in detail what it is you're worried about. So this, as an example, right, for our exercise, we may be working around train tracks, and so all the parts of the exercise will be in that area. Here's what they may be working on, and then here's what you're going to do to mitigate that, to reduce the risk and the hazards of what's going on. As we translate out of that, this will help us kind of write perhaps some of our day of activity forms that are value added. So for example, we've got a weather message in here. You can pre-plumb that to whatever you've got local. These are just hyperlinks back to your regular National Forest Service, National Weather Service offices. And so they've got some hyperlink functionality and can be translated into the PDF. If you want some detail, right, copy paste graphics from the National Weather Service, right, or just screen grabs of whatnot. Again, you're trying to tell the story to your participants. Similarly, the safety message, again, right out of ICS. This one kind of mirrors up with our 215 alpha, but you can put really whatever in here, right, helping your folks that are going to be out and about on your exercise understand how to be safe. Should something go sideways, the 206, right, brings together our medical plan, and you can list in what is the protocol if somebody does get hurt on your exercise. Putting in things like on the scene medical stations, if we would need ground or air transport, landing spots, and where the folks would be going with a hospital or whatnot. Also, then you can pre-populate in here any of the sort of procedure or protocol, of what needs to happen if somebody does get banged up along the way. The IP or improvement plan worksheet, right? This would be one that, again, oops, I skipped over it there. Our IP worksheet, again, the improvement plan helps you kind of translate, if you want, kind of a broad view, what your issues or problems were, and then what you're going to address by the POET elements, right? Planning, training, equipment, organizing, stuff of that nature. So just another tool that may be useful for you, not required, but certainly may be useful. If you want to add some realism to your exercise, right, here's some Moulage 101, kind of talks about how to make it safely, how to put it on, and go forth with bruises and whatnot. You can follow the link out to the CDC for some more information there along the way. A brainstormer toolkit is in here, and we'll look at that here real quick. This may be one that, again, as you're starting to the 30,000 foot before you sit down with your planning team, kind of answering some of these questions and whether or not you write in the answers or just have a good discussion about it. These may lead you to kind of what you want to get accomplished as a group. We've also got a couple other toolkits in here as we move past the rest of this teal section into the turquoise section here, where we're going to talk about master task lists. And these come, again, out of the HSEEP toolkit, one for discussion-based and one for operations-based. When you look at these, it gives you a lot of the information you've got in other places, but in kind of an organized fashion, if you will. So as we pull one of these guys up, and they're both pretty similar, right? They've got a few tweaks based on the type of exercise you're looking at. But they really just kind of step you through a little sanity check for you and your planning team to make sure that you're getting stuff done, right? So maybe useful, maybe not, entirely up to you, but you can see here it's got things of like what needs to be occurring at the concept and ops meeting, and then all the way down through other pieces. So you can see all of these teal colored, turquoise colored tabs all have various tools that you might find useful for your exercise planning and perhaps day of things. again, don't overcomplicate your exercise. Don't hit print on all of these and kill everyone with a mountain of paper. But do consider some of them, pulling in from ICS forms or whatnot, to either add some realism, reduce some risk, or provide, again, just a more value-added professional-looking exercise to your crew. As always, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode here on our exercise toolkit. Next time, join us, please, and we'll be looking at our one of our final segments around some of the other kind of workout products, not really tools per se, but actual printable products that you'd be utilizing.